Então, galera, vamos dar uma olhada nos Bastiões. Regra nova do Dungeons Master Guide 2024, que é uma regra requentada, já antiga do D&D. Mas vamos ver como é que vai ser essa nova interpretação de como é que os jogadores vão construir fortalezas, como é que eles vão construir o seu covil de ladino. Enfim, vamos lá.
The Bastion system in Chapter 8 in particular has my interest a lot because I love players having real estate. We have talked about this. I love giving them real estate in Ravenloft.
Prices are low.
Something is also living in there. But bastions are such a...
Eu curti que eles chamaram a galera das antigas, né? Ó, a galera mais sênior para fazer essa regra que é algo que vem lá de trás, né? Então, provavelmente a galera é mais familiar, né, com esse tipo de regra.
a great extended way of fleshing out your character and who your character is. And even before, there was
Tá grosso o livro, hein? Porra.
anything like a bastion system, I would draw out my inn that maybe I would wish I owned, or the apartment my character lived in. And this fleshes that out to have meaning and purpose and can work with other players. So I have talked very long about bastions without you, but tell me about the bastion system.
It's we've talked about the idea that players are part of the narrative, that they are helping to sculpt the story of the campaign. And bastions are a way for them to kind of double down and become invested in the setting by saying, this piece of the setting is mine.
Yeah.
Sim, cara, muito importante para os jogadores se sentirem parte ali da construção da narrativa, né? Isso é uma das partes mais legais.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's sort of a turning the tables thing again, where in the Bastion, the player has creative control. The Bastion is not a knife that the DM can use to hurt the player by design.
Como não?
And it's off limits for the Dungeon Master.
And this is honestly a taste of being a Dungeon Master. You are
Qual é a graça de ter os bastiões se o mestre não pode invadir ele?
making NPCs for yourself. You are describing a location for yourself.
Yeah, potentially drawing a map of that location for yourself.
And with Bastions, you continue your career as a character, but the Bastion can always happen. It doesn't have to happen in game. This can happen outside of the game.
That's right. I think that one of the keys to the Bastion's success is it does not interfere with your life as an adventurer. The characters carry on with their adventuring careers, and these Bastions are
Cara, como eles estão usando, né, os personagens de Caverna do Dragão. Sim, muito, muito, muito.
operating. They can always go back there. I'm going to go spend some time in my Bastion, hang out with my friends. But the Bastion's chugging along in the background while you're off doing more important world-shaking things.
Like I love this part in particular where you say like a Bastion is a creative playground for the player to build themselves. And I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This also gives me something to do in between games.
Yeah.
Like not just the Bastion turn, but just imagining.
Yeah. And so the trick for us as designers is in a fairly condensed amount of space, how do we give you all the elements that you need to make your Bastion feel unique? That yours is going to be different from every other player's Bastion. So that meant giving lots of different kinds of facilities that your Bastion can have that can provide.
Cara, é legal que tenha todos esses estilos aqui e tal, mas tem que ver como é que funciona para gerenciar, né? Se vai ser gerenciado fora de jogo, tem muito jogador aí que não gosta de fazer dever de casa e tal, né? Tem outros que vão curtir mais, então assim, talvez, né, tenha uma discrepância aqui do quanto o cara investe tempo pensando nisso versus o outro jogador, mas
provide in-game benefits.
Problemas pro futuro.
And allow you to issue all kinds of different orders to those facilities and have them feel different and unique. So if you are a rogue, for instance, there's enough options that you can create a place that feels very roguey. That feels like this is the kind of Bastion a rogue would have versus a cleric versus a druid.
And you do describe that, like these have different functions and styles. Mm-hmm. Like if you're a wizard, you get your tower.
Yeah.
E aqui vai provavelmente ficar bem Warcraft, assim, no sentido que cada vai ter um tipo de bastião que vai gerar tal tipo de recurso e esse tipo de coisa com certeza vai rolar.
You can build a wizard tower. A cleric might have a shrine. There might be a meditation space for a monk.
And then there's room to have things that, actually you wouldn't think your character would want.
Right.
The benefits are so tempting and cool that you kind of want it.
Yeah.
And so you might be a wizard who has a theater or a pub.
Let's talk about the future of Bastions beyond what's just here.
In the same way that Waterdeep Dragon Heist has the opportunity for the players to acquire a tavern at the beginning of the adventure, future adventures can interact with the Bastion rules by giving characters spaces of their own.
Então assim, já vai ser... Provavelmente isso vai estar ligado com a mesa virtual da Wizards ali, onde é que tu vai comprar uma aventura, já vai vir com um bastião diferente e tal, e vai ter mecânica diferente. Legal isso, né? Então assim, cada tipo de... vai ter um bastião temático, né? Então legal, assim, cara. É bem mercenário, né? A cara da Wizards, mas legal.
And then in settings, we might do interesting things with that. Like what might we do in Ravenloft to really make the Bastion feel maybe not quite so safe? Or
Fill it with
Melhorou agora.
friendly ghosts.
Yeah.
We're not going to design them here, obviously, but yeah, each setting can basically allow us to skin or flavor bastions in a particular way that feels appropriate for that setting.
And really hook you into the world.
Comprar skin de casinha, cara. É isso aí.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm thinking of ways to use the Bastion system because my wife's main character, Whittle, killed Strahd and somehow ended up being in charge of Ravenloft. I'm like, ooh, what are the Bastion turns for having to own Castle Ravenloft?
Right, yes.
And what a curse that has to be.
Yes, in the normal world, you wouldn't consider like a graveyard a facility for a bastion, but in Ravenloft you might.
Seria o melhor de todos os bastiões no cemitério.
Totally would. The Harvest Order.
Can you give me some
Olha aí, ó, o Vingador, hein? Da hora, hein, essa ilustração.
of the examples of the Bastion turns?
Inimigo de Tiamat.
A Bastion turn happens roughly every 7 days. And when that happens, if characters are in their Bastion, they give an order to each of their facilities. They can give an order to craft something, to empower something, to harvest something, to maintain something, or to recruit someone or something, or
Exatamente, é a geração de recursos.
search or trade. So different facilities take different orders and have results that happen when you do those orders. If you're not there and can't communicate with your hirelings, the whole Bastion does the maintain order, which is when you roll to see if an event happens that gives the characters an opportunity to tell a story about their Bastion. Even if all is well, there's an opportunity to tell a story about how all is well at the Bastion back home.
That's right. And a DM has flexibility based on where the campaign's at to accelerate or decelerate how often Bastion turns happen.
Isso é legal, cara, porque às vezes, né, se fica de 7 em 7 dias, tu não consegue manter isso numa aventura, às vezes que é uma correria, né? Só em aventura que tem é mais espaçada e tal. O legal é poder acelerar e desacelerar os turnos aí.
And in some cases, the players might clamor for a Bastion turn because they're angling to do something specific in the game, and the DM will say, "Great, let's stop here, take a Bastion turn, or we're going to play out this session, and then y'all going to go."
Mas tudo isso só vai ser legal se as ações que dá pra fazer nos bastiões, né, forem legais. Né?
Home,
Senão não adianta nada o Wizards tentar me vender skin.
have your Bastion turn, and then come back the next session and tell me what y'all did.
Yeah. I really love that idea of starting a session with not just a recap of what happened last session, but also, and what's been going on in your Bastions.
And you have the opportunity to combine your Bastions with other players. So you could have your own separate space, you could have your own separate wizard tower, or you could basically build a stronghold almost together, or a facility.
Yes, you can combine your Bastions into a larger structure over which each of you still maintain control over your specific facilities and sections, but there is some benefit.
And these all have basic facilities like bedrooms, dining rooms, parlors. They can have a kitchen, storage. You go over all of that, the amount of space that this all requires. You also have, adding basic facilities, you have the cost of what it is to add these items if you wanted them. So there's, again, the aspirational kind of like, okay, I know this is going to take 20 days, 45 days. I know the gold piece value of what I would need to do to add this on to my home base, my bastion.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that people have been saying a lot over the last 10 years is, I'm not sure what my characters are supposed to do with their money.
Sim, não existe o que fazer com o dinheiro porque não existe loja de item mágico e não tá cravado bem certinho quanto custa cada item mágico para o jogador poder comprar. Nunca teve problema de dinheiro quando jogava terceira edição, Pathfinder, quarta edição, porque os jogadores sabiam os itens mágicos que eles queriam. E aí, isso motivava eles a conseguir dinheiro, ir atrás. Então tinha que conseguir os recursos, tinha que conseguir quem vendesse, então tinha toda uma história para ir atrás de um determinado artefato. E na quinta edição isso se perdeu. Então agora talvez tenha uma outra motivação aí. Só que eu acho que nem toda campanha também vai ter esse tema, né?
Yeah.
This is one answer to that. You know, if you just want to expand the map that you've drawn of your bastion and add more basic facilities to it, you can sink money into it to do that.
That said, the special facilities that you get are unlocked by your level. So, and those just fall like manna from heaven.
Então olha aí. Então assim, tu começa a ganhar os benefícios, as coisas meio que sem explicação, né? Então já tem aí um gap, né? Mas vamos lá.
When you achieve a certain level, you can add another facility to your bastion, and it's just becomes a feature of the bastion at no gold piece cost to you.
Então, assim, tu vai adicionando novos negócios com o passar do tempo, né? Com o nível, né? E parece que tu não precisa do recurso para gastar para adicionar, é só para subir de nível. E aí tu pode extrair outros recursos, né?
Yeah, and there are those, like you say, you have those rules for the special facilities.
Yes.
Beyond that you can continue to add a different.
Yeah, and the special facilities are the ones that are giving you the in-game benefits, whereas the basic facilities, like bedrooms and such, are just cosmetic, really.
Right. So again, the orders that you can basically issue on a Bastion turn are craft, empower, harvest, maintain, recruit, research.
Agora que nós vamos ver se tudo isso aqui vale a pena.
And trade. And you have hirelings that can do all of this for you.
Yes.
So there are 29 special facilities that your bastions can have.
Right. When your character is level 5, you start off with 2 special facilities. And that goes up to 4 at level 9, and then 5 at 13, and 6 at 17. So from that list of 29, an individual bastion will never have more than 6.
So it doesn't just have to be like an arcane study. It doesn't just have to be an armory. It can be several of these all combined in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like its own separate identity.
Right. So when I build my wizard tower at level 5, I might have an arcane study and a garden.
And then within certain special facilities, there's even some built-in flexibility to customize. So James mentioned his wizard tower with a garden.
Cara, isso dá bastante personalidade para os jogadores, assim. Porque eu explorei isso numa campanha de Spelljammer, assim, só que foi um TPK, assim, a gente não foi tão longe. Mas, assim, conforme eles tinham, né, a nave deles, e aí cada um tinha sua cabine na nave. E aí eles iam decorando, assim, com as coisas que eles iam conseguindo na aventura. Eles chegam sem nada, né? Aí os NPCs têm suas cabines, que são super, né, legais, tem todas as coisas da personalidade deles. E aos poucos, assim, conforme eles vão fazendo coisas, eles nem diziam assim, quero botar lá. Mas eu dizia que, agora tu tá com tal coisa da última aventura ali, né? Sempre. E aí isso ia se expandindo, assim, né? E era legal que eles iam incorporando isso na interpretação. Muito bacana.
Well, you can decide what kind of garden you want, and that affects what happens when you issue the harvest order to that garden.
I can have a decorative garden, or a food garden, or an herb garden, or a poison garden.
But yeah, we've got arcane study, armory, barrack, garden, library, sanctuary, smithy, storehouse, workshop, game hall, greenhouse, laboratory, sacristy? Ooh, I don't know. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. Scriptorium, stable, a teleportation circle, theater, training room, trophy, archive, meditation chamber, menagerie, observatory,
Olha o Spelljammer aí.
which I'm very keen on, pub, reliquary, demi-plane, guild
Massa, Demiplane.
hall, sanctum, which we all should be aspiring to that, and a war room. And we also have art of these sanctums as well. And you have the different levels that are the prerequisites, how many hirelings are there. there's just a lot of content here.
Yeah. One of the things that just tickles me is this series of paintings that Noor Rahman did that
Eu vi essa ilustração bonita, cara.
shows the progression of a bastion, but the beauty of it is that at each stage you can see the construction happening that is leading toward the next
Nice.
stage. So like Chris said, it just sort of drops, the new facilities just sort of drop down. The story there is that, you know, it's been under construction all this time, and it's when you hit that new level, the work is finally done, and you have your new place, and you start building toward the next one.
Cara, a grossura do livro do mestre, vocês viram? Que absurdo.
Stage. So like Chris said, it just sort of drops, the new facilities just sort of drop down. The story there is the work is finally done, and you have your
Olha
new
só.
place, and you start building toward the next one.
Olha ali, ó. Ó a grossura do livro. Dá quase 2 do de hoje.
And there are some, I mean, like you said, there are some really fun things that you can fabricate items. You can, like, you know, demiplane, you can have arcane resilience because of you're in your demiplane. So you are tougher to take on because you're on your home turf. There's so many things like that I genuinely love. There's also sample guilds in here. You could have an adventurer's guild, a baker's guild, a brewer's guild, masons, shipbuilders, thieves guild of your own. That's deeply exciting. That's
É, cara, e aí é outro tipo de aventura, né? Eu tô muito curioso pra ver, assim, onde é que eles vão com as aventuras, porque eles já vão começar com Keep on the Borderlands, que é uma aventura que tu já pode ter um forte lá no final dela, né? Então, provavelmente a gente vai ver uma estrutura de aventura menos focada no seguir a história, né? Menos railroad e mais procedural, assim, algo, né, que fique mais na mão, procedural não, mas que fique na mão dos jogadores, né? A narrativa, né? E eu gosto, porque dá mais preparação no começo, mas depois o jogo flui tranquilo.
That's so aspirational and fun.
Yeah, and within the structure of these bastions, like the guild hall, there is opportunity, or invitation, I should say, for the player to sit down with their dungeon master and hash out some specifics about,
Meu Deus, é só a Caverna do Dragão? Nossa.
okay, what can I do with this beyond what's on the page?
Like the training area is another thing that has a direct effect on your character. Things like that, or the meditation chamber. These all can affect your character in-game as well as outside of the game for story purposes. This is what also gets interesting about Bastions is if you're in a city setting and you have competition, because of Bastion, you can have story hooks there where like
A cara do tiozão que concorda com o rolê, né?
Can I
purposes. This is what also gets interesting about Bastions is if you're in a city setting and you have
A cara dele,
competition,
é.
because of Bastion, you can have story
Ele que
hooks
escreveu,
there
né?
where like your guild is, maybe there's 2 competing thieves guild and you own one of them, or 2 competing pubs. You both open the exact same type of pub next to each other, which happens all the time in real life. But there's so many extra hooks, I think, for storytelling.
Yes.
Not only are there plenty of tables, you've got rules for the fall of the Bastion.
If the players maintain their
Yeah.
bastions, it's not likely to happen. The one cataclysmic event that might befall your bastion is if you're mucking around with the deck of many things. Because
Right.
if you draw the ruin card, bye-bye bastion. But that's, you know,
But that's another story.
that's another story. One that doesn't come up too often, thank goodness.
And there's a Bastion tracker.
Yes, a sheet.
É, aí isso aí eu imaginei que ia ter uma ficha especial para isso, né? Uma planilha. Porque sem isso é muito difícil manter esse tipo de acompanhamento.
That you can give to the players so that they can keep track of all the facilities in their bastion and other important information about what's happening there and who's operating there.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited for Bastions, and have a great day. Thank you for adding this to the DMG. This is really exciting.
Yeah, we hope players
Sim.
dig it. We hope dungeon masters have.
Estou empolgado, mais ou menos, porque ele me parece assim para um tipo específico de aventura, né? Então, mas vamos ver. Vamos ver. Testarei. É bem provável.
Fun baking their players' bastions into their greater campaigns.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the story possibilities.
Thank you so much for watching. Every week leading up to the brand new 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, we'll have new videos and premiere.
Isso, pré-order. E daí, se a gente compra no Brasil aqui na Amazon, demora 3 meses para chegar depois do lançamento. Maravilha. Então tá, galera, era isso. Valeu!